My brother mocked me for being a virgin. At 30, so I exposed his cheating and destroyed his marriage publicly. I'm a 30-year-old guy, and my older brother, Ethan, has always been the golden child. It's funny how two kids raised under the same roof can live entirely different lives. Ethan was born with everything that earns love easily. He had that effortless charm, the kind that made teachers adore him and girls chase him. I, on the other hand, was the quiet one, awkward, bookish, the type who stayed late in the computer lab instead of going to parties. Our parents used to joke that I inherited all the brains, and he got all the personality. But beneath that joke was a sting that never really faded. I still remember being 10 years old, hearing my mom tell her friends, "Ethan's going to be a heartbreaker. And our younger one, he'll do something smart, I guess." I laughed along back then, pretending I didn't care. But those little lines built walls around me. I stopped expecting to be seen as equal. Ethan's every win was celebrated. Mine was acknowledged with polite nods. Over the years, he became a salesman, smooth-talking, confident, good-looking, and I became the family's go-to tech guy. Our paths couldn't have been more different. He got married young, had a beautiful wife, posted perfect family pictures on Instagram. Meanwhile, I poured myself into coding, staying late at the office, watching the world pair up while I stayed in my lane. At family dinners, Ethan's jokes always found their way to me. But last week's dinner was different. As everyone laughed around the table, Ethan raised his glass and smirked. "So," he said loud enough for everyone to hear, 30 years old and still a virgin, huh? Guess someone's saving himself for the right motherboard." The table erupted in laughter. Even my mom tried to stifle a smile. I laughed too. But something broke inside me that night. I went home, replaying that moment over and over, and for the first time in years, I didn't just feel embarrassed. I felt angry, and I had no idea that anger was about to change everything. After that dinner, I told myself to shake it off, that Ethan's jokes were just his way of teasing. But 2 weeks later, during our family's annual barbecue, he decided to turn my private humiliation into public entertainment. It started harmlessly enough: music, chatter, the smell of grilled meat, kids running through sprinklers. I was setting up the speakers when I overheard him talking to our cousins. "You know my little brother?" he said, grinning. "He's like a monk, probably waiting for divine intervention before his first kiss." They all laughed, thinking it was light-hearted fun. I froze, pretending not to hear. But Ethan wasn't done. As the evening went on, more drinks flowed, and he became bolder. During a toast, with 30 people gathered around, he smirked and said, "Here's to my little brother, the smartest guy in the room, and still the purest." Laughter exploded like fireworks. My aunt clapped. Someone yelled, "Save yourself, buddy!" I felt heat crawl up my neck, my palms trembling as I forced a smile. When I looked at my parents, Mom just looked away, embarrassed. Dad laughed nervously, muttering, "That's enough, Ethan." But he didn't stop him. He never does. Ethan threw his arm around me and whispered, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Don't worry, bro. Maybe next year you'll finally graduate from—" Hand-holding, that one hurt. I excused myself, walked into the house, and stood in front of the bathroom mirror, staring at my reflection. My chest felt tight, like I'd swallowed years of mockery that suddenly had nowhere to go. I wasn't even angry that he teased me about being single. I was angry that he made my entire existence a joke. Outside, I could still hear his laughter echoing through the window. It was the sound of everything I'd ever hated: his charm, his arrogance, his ability to make people adore him even when he was cruel. That night, for the first time, I didn't just want to avoid him. I wanted to make him feel small. I didn't know how yet, but the idea of revenge had quietly entered the room and refused to leave. Ethan and his wife, Jessica, were the kind of couple people posted about on Facebook to prove love still existed. Perfect vacations, anniversary photos, matching outfits. Every image screamed, "Happily ever after." For years, even I believed it. Jessica was sweet to me, always polite, always smiling when Ethan teased me. I figured she didn't know how cruel his jokes really were. But after that barbecue, I started paying attention, really paying attention, and what I saw didn't fit the picture he painted online. At the next family dinner, Jessica showed up alone. She brushed it off, saying Ethan was caught up at work again. When she talked, her tone carried a sharp edge I'd never heard before. "You know," she said quietly while stirring her drink, "your brother's not as perfect as everyone thinks." I looked at her, surprised, but she changed the subject before I could ask. After that, I started noticing things, small but telling. Jessica's smiles at him were colder. Her posts about their amazing marriage stopped suddenly. And once, when Ethan got up from the table, she rolled her eyes so subtly it was almost invisible. One evening, I stopped by their house to drop off a hard drive Ethan had asked for. Jessica opened the door, looking tired, makeup smudged like she'd been crying. I asked if everything was okay. She hesitated, then forced a smile. "Fine," she said. "Just busy." Inside, Ethan was pacing on the phone, his voice low and tense. I caught fragments. "She can't find out. Don't text me here. Delete everything." My heart skipped. When he saw me, he instantly smiled, switching to his usual carefree tone. "Hey, little bro, come on in." I handed him the drive, pretending not to notice the shift. But something inside me stirred, a gut feeling that the golden couple was rotting from the inside out. For the first time, I didn't feel like the loser of the family. I felt like the only one who saw the truth, and part of me wondered what would happen if everyone else saw it too. A week after that night, Ethan called me, half drunk, slurring his words. "Bro, my laptop's acting up again," he said. "Can you fix it before Monday? I've got work reports on there." He dropped it off the next morning, still smelling like whiskey and expensive cologne. I told him I'd take care of it. At first, I was just cleaning out junk files and running diagnostics. But then I noticed a hidden folder buried inside his documents, labeled Receipts. I clicked it, expecting invoices or spreadsheets. Instead, it was hundreds of photos, screenshots, and messages. My stomach tightened. The first image was of Ethan kissing a woman who definitely wasn't Jessica, taken in a hotel mirror. Another folder opened to long text threads with different names, some saved under fake contacts. I told myself to close it, to respect privacy, but my hands wouldn't listen. Message after message, he bragged about keeping things discreet, about how Jessica would never suspect. I scrolled through years of conversations, dates, voice notes, even flight bookings. My brother, the man who mocked me for being single, had been living a double life built on lies and lust. The deeper I went, the worse it got. There were exchanges while Jessica was pregnant, when she was homesick, and he was out networking. One message even read, "You're the only one who makes me feel alive." My wife's just background noise. I sat there in silence, hands trembling on the keyboard, feeling sick. It wasn't just betrayal, it was hypocrisy on a scale I couldn't comprehend. The same man who laughed at my morals, who made me feel pathetic for not sleeping around, was nothing more than a coward hiding behind charm. I backed up the entire folder to a flash drive, almost on instinct. At first I didn't know why I did it, but somewhere deep down I think I already knew. That night, as I stared at the evidence glowing on my screen, one thought echoed in my head. He humiliated me in front of everyone. Maybe it was time I returned the favor. For days, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those messages, heard Ethan's voice saying, "She'll never find out." I wanted to throw the flash drive away, pretend I never saw any of it, but I couldn't. Every time I remembered his smug grin at that barbecue, his arm around me while everyone laughed, my chest burned with anger. I told myself I didn't want revenge, but deep down, I knew that was a lie. Still, guilt tangled itself around my thoughts. Jessica didn't deserve this, and I didn't want to be the reason her world shattered. But how could I sit silently knowing what he'd done? I tried talking myself out of it. "Stay out of it," I whispered while pacing my apartment. "It's not your fight." But then I remembered his words. 30 and still a virgin. That laughter, that humiliation, and something inside me snapped again. I confided in my closest friend, Adam. We met for coffee, and after listening quietly, he leaned back and said, "You have the power to destroy him. If he made you a joke in front of everyone, Maybe it's time he learns how that feels. I stared at my cup, unable to respond. Revenge sounded satisfying, but also dangerous. What if it backfired? What if Jessica hated me for exposing it? That night, I plugged the flash drive back into my computer. I went through every screenshot again, labeling, organizing, saving copies in cloud folders. My hands shook as I realized what I was doing. I was preparing for war. At 2 a.m., I looked at Ethan's smiling face in a family photo on my desk. I whispered, "You made me your punchline for years." My voice trembled but didn't break. Let's see how funny you are when the whole world knows who you really are. For the first time in my life, I wasn't scared of him. I was becoming someone he'd never seen before, someone he should have never pushed. The next few weeks, I played the role of the quiet brother again. But this time, it was an act. I attended family dinners, smiled politely, laughed at Ethan's jokes, all while planning his downfall in silence. Every insult he threw my way now felt like gasoline on a fire I'd already lit. He had no idea that behind my calm face, I was cataloging every opportunity, every weakness. I started by securing everything. I encrypted the evidence and uploaded it to multiple drives and cloud accounts under fake names. I took photos of his contacts, his car plates, even his office name tag. My mind had become surgical, methodical. I didn't know when I'd strike, but I knew it would be public. Then came the moment that sealed it. During a family dinner at our parents' house, Ethan couldn't resist showing off again. "Hey bro," he said between bites, "you still using dating apps for friends?" Everyone laughed. Even Dad chuckled. I just smiled and said, "Yeah, still waiting for the right one." Ethan smirked. "You might be waiting forever." But this time I didn't flinch. I leaned back, staring right at him, and replied softly, "Maybe I'm just more loyal than most people, Ethan." The room went quiet for a second. Only Jessica's fork paused mid-air. Ethan looked confused for a moment before laughing it off. But I saw it, the flicker of discomfort in his eyes. After dinner, Jessica lingered by the door when everyone was leaving. She looked at me and asked quietly, "What did you mean by that?" I just smiled and said, "Nothing, just thinking out loud." But I could see something shift in her expression, a flash of unease. Suspicion, maybe even recognition, driving home that night. I realized something. I didn't even need to expose him yet. I just had to let the truth breathe. Once doubt entered Jessica's mind, it would do the work for me. And soon enough, it did. 3 days after that dinner, I got a message on Facebook from Jessica. Just one line, "Can we talk privately?" "It's important." My stomach dropped. For a second, I thought Ethan had somehow found out what I'd seen. But when I opened the chat, it was clear. She wasn't angry. She was scared. We met the next evening at a quiet coffee shop across town. Jessica looked nothing like the picture-perfect wife she posted online. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her hands shaking around her cup. She didn't waste time. "I think Ethan's cheating on me," she whispered. I need to know the truth," I froze. For a moment I considered lying, pretending ignorance, keeping myself out of it. But then I saw how desperate she looked, how broken. I pulled my phone from my pocket, hesitated, and showed her one photo, just one screenshot of Ethan with another woman. She covered her mouth, gasping. "Oh my God," she whispered, trembling. Tears welled in her eyes, but anger quickly followed. "How long?" she demanded. "How long has this been going on?" I told her I didn't know everything yet, that I'd found it by accident while fixing his laptop. She leaned back, staring into space, whispering, "I knew it." I knew something was wrong. For the first time, I saw the same fire in her eyes that had been burning inside me for weeks. "Don't tell him yet," I said quietly. "Let's be smart about this." She looked at me, confused. "What do you mean?" I leaned forward. "If we confront him now, he'll deny everything. But if we plan this right, he'll destroy himself." Jessica didn't respond right away, but after a long silence, she nodded. "Okay," she said softly. "Let's make sure he never gets to humiliate anyone again." That night, I walked out of that cafe with a strange, heavy calm. I wasn't alone anymore. My brother had made a lifetime of mocking me, and now, his own wife was standing beside me, ready to burn his perfect world to ashes. We started planning like criminals, careful, clinical, and way more calm than I expected. Jessica and I met in secret, trading screenshots and timelines across coffee shop tables and whispered phone calls. I felt ridiculous and vindicated at the same time. Here I was, the awkward tech guy, suddenly running a sting operation. We mapped out dates when Ethan was away, cross-checked hotel receipts with his calendar, and saved voice notes where he bragged about keeping things casual. I duplicated everything twice. Then again, USBs, cloud backups, even copies on encrypted email accounts. Paranoia became protocol. Jessica handled the emotional side. She texted his contacts pretending to be a concerned friend, quietly confirming names. She lied to his co-workers about needing receipts for insurance and got answers Ethan thought were private. Watching her do it felt strange. She was soft and furious at once, her hands shaking as she typed messages into her phone. "I can't believe I let him make me look stupid," she said that night, voice low. "He used my trust like it was disposable." I wanted to say it wasn't just her. He'd been using me too, but I held my tongue. Strategic silence was part of the plan. I built the presentation on my laptop like it was a final project, chronological, irrefutable, humiliatingly thorough. Photos, timestamps, chat logs, hotel bookings, each slide stripped away the curated life Ethan sold everyone. I even recorded a short audio montage of him saying things that would make him flinch if he heard them in front of family. The file sat there, cold and ready, the cursor blinking on a blank slide that would become the reveal. We chose his 35th birthday party because of course he'd make it loud and public, his element. The venue was a rented hall, twinkling lights, the smell of perfume and cheap champagne in the air. I could see the projector in my mind, the glow on Ethan's face, the murmur turning to gasps. The night was coming. I had the USB in my pocket. My hands were steady, but my heart felt like an alarm about to go off. Ethan's birthday party was exactly what you'd expect from him. Lavish, loud, and full of people there to admire him. The hall glittered with golden balloons and string lights, champagne glasses clinking in rhythm with the music. I stood near the back, blending into the crowd like I always did. Jessica arrived later, dressed in black instead of her usual soft colors. She looked composed, but her eyes were steel. Ethan worked the room like a politician, hugging, laughing, shaking hands. When he saw me, he grinned. "Didn't think you'd come, little bro." "What, no date again?" I forced a laugh and said, "Wouldn't miss it for the world." He clapped me on the shoulder, oblivious to the storm inches away. By the time everyone gathered for his speech, the air was thick with laughter and alcohol. Ethan stood by the projector, tapping his glass. "To the best year yet," he said. "To success, family, and to proving my little brother wrong. Life's not about hard drives, it's about drive." The room chuckled. That was my cue. I walked forward, heart pounding like it was trying to punch its way out of my chest. "Actually," I said, my voice steady but loud enough to cut through the noise, "I've got something to add to your speech." Ethan frowned, confused. "What are you doing?" I plugged in the USB. The screen flickered. For a second, just static. Then Ethan's messages, his voice recordings, pictures of him with other women. The room fell silent. Gasps filled the air, one after another like dominoes falling. Jessica stood at the front, arms crossed, watching him with a cold expression I'd never seen before. "Ethan," his boss whispered from the crowd. "Is this you?" Ethan's face drained of color. "This isn't funny," he muttered, lunging for the laptop. But Jessica stepped forward and said clearly, "It's not supposed to be." He froze, eyes wide, realizing the one person he couldn't charm or outtalk had turned against him. The projector screen glowed behind him like a confession booth. And for once in his life, Ethan had no words. The laughter that had followed me for years was gone, replaced by stunned silence. And standing there, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Control. The morning after the party felt eerily quiet. No calls, no messages, just silence. I woke up late, still replaying the chaos in my head. The gasps, the whispers, Ethan's pale face under the projector light. It all felt surreal. My phone buzzed nonstop that day. Not from family, though. From coworkers, mutual friends, even people I hadn't spoken to in years. Dude, what happened last night? Was that real? Your brother's finished, man. By noon, the story had spread everywhere. Someone had recorded the whole thing and posted it online. Within hours, Ethan's perfect reputation was in ashes. His company suspended him pending an internal investigation, and Jessica officially filed for divorce. I saw the documents later. Her lawyer moved fast, like she'd been waiting for the right moment. She texted me once, "It's done. Thank you for everything." Our parents, though, didn't see it the same way. Mom called crying, furious. "How could you do this to your own brother? You embarrassed the entire family." Dad's tone was colder. "You think destroying him makes you better?" I didn't argue. There was no point. They'd never see Ethan the way I did. They wanted peace. I wanted truth. That evening, I sat on my balcony, watching the sunset smear the sky with burnt orange. My chest felt heavy. Not regret exactly, but something close. For years, I'd dreamed about the day Ethan would finally face consequences. But now that it happened, it didn't feel like victory. It felt like standing in the rubble after a storm you started yourself. Then my phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "He's been calling me non-stop, drunk, angry. Says you ruined his life." It was Jessica's best friend. I stared at the message for a long time, heart sinking. I realized the fallout wasn't over. It was only just beginning. And deep down, I knew Ethan wouldn't take his downfall quietly. It happened 3 nights later. A pounding at my door, hard, impatient, angry. I knew it was him before I even looked through the peephole. Ethan. His voice came muffled through the wood. "Open up, you coward!" When I finally did, he stumbled inside, reeking of whiskey and desperation. His eyes were bloodshot, his hair disheveled, his confidence gone. "You think this is funny?" he spat. "You ruined my life!" He pushed my shoulder hard enough to make me stumble. I didn't fight back. I just looked at him. The man who'd humiliated me my entire life now standing there, broken and pathetic. "Your life," I said quietly. "You built that life on lies, Ethan." He laughed bitterly, pacing like a caged animal. "You don't understand!" Jessica was all I had. "You think you're some kind of hero? You're a jealous freak who finally got his moment." Something inside me snapped. "Jealous?" I shouted. "You made me the family joke. Every damn dinner, every holiday, you dragged me down just to feel taller. You don't get to talk about what I ruined when you destroyed everything yourself." For a long moment, the only sound was our breathing, the air thick with years of unspoken hatred. His eyes glossed with something I hadn't seen before. Not arrogance, not anger. Guilt. "I was miserable," he muttered, almost to himself. "I hated my job, my marriage. I hated how everyone loved me for pretending to be perfect. But I hated you most of all. Because you were real. You never needed anyone's approval." He sank onto my couch, burying his face in his hands. "I don't even know who I am anymore." For the first time, I saw not my brother, but a man unraveling. A man who'd been running from his own emptiness for years. When he finally stood up to leave, he looked smaller, like the pedestal had been kicked out from under him. "Congratulations," he said quietly. "You won, but it didn't feel like winning. It felt like staring at the ruins of something that used to be family. And yet, beneath the wreckage, something in me finally felt free." Months passed after that night. Ethan moved out of state, and the family group chat went silent, except for Mom's half-hearted attempts to bring everyone together again. But there was no together anymore. The illusion had shattered. Ethan's divorce finalized quickly, his job gone, his reputation ruined. Part of me expected to feel triumphant, to replay that birthday party in my head and smile. Instead, I just felt quiet. I didn't hate him anymore. That surprised me the most. Somewhere between his downfall and that night in my apartment, my anger burned itself out. I still remembered every insult, every public humiliation, every time he made me feel small, but they didn't control me anymore. I'd finally learned something he never did, that peace doesn't come from winning, it comes from letting go. One evening, I got a message from an unknown number. It was Ethan. "I'm in therapy, trying to figure things out. I don't expect forgiveness, just Thank you for finally stopping me. I stared at the text for a long time before replying. Take care of yourself. That was it. No dramatic closure, no reunion. Just a quiet truth between two broken men trying to move forward separately. Since then, I've started dating someone new. Someone kind, patient, and real. We met through work, and for the first time, I'm not ashamed of who I am. I don't chase approval anymore. I don't need to. Sometimes, I still think about that night, how everything came full circle. Ethan mocked me for being a virgin at 30, but maybe the thing he really hated was that I still had something pure left in me. Integrity. He lost everything pretending to be perfect, and I found myself by finally refusing to pretend. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the quiet one anymore. I was the one who stood up, and I walked away free.